Hey, welcome. Today, we're going to dig into a really powerful blueprint for innovation that's actually hidden deep inside an ancient story. It's a lesson in leadership that, you'll see, is more relevant today than ever. And it all starts with this one core challenge that every single leader has to face. All right, so first, let's really nail down the unique problem that leaders, and honestly, anyone trying to create something new, always runs into. Most jobs have a clear path. A programmer, they write code. A doctor treats patients. An accountant handles the finances. The tasks are defined, right? But leadership, that's a whole different ballgame. Leaders don't get a script to follow. Instead, they're staring down uncertainty every single day. Each day brings a brand new puzzle. So how on earth do they navigate that?
Well, the answer, and this is the surprising part, might just be found in the story of an ancient warrior king, a guy who was faced with this monumental task that was way outside his comfort zone.
So let's meet our guy, Dol Carnarvon. Now, the most important thing you need to know about him is that he was a ruler and a soldier, a strategist, a commander, but he was not a scientist, and he was definitely not an engineer. And that is exactly what makes what he did next so incredible. So a community comes to him, absolutely terrified. They need protection from this destructive force. They need a massive, unbreakable wall. And Dul Qarnen, the warrior, gives them these incredibly specific, super technical engineering instructions on how to build it. And his plan was just brilliant. First, he says, fill the giant gap between two mountains with blocks of iron. Then, use these huge bellows to heat the whole thing up till it's glowing red hot. And for the final step, pour molten brass all over the top. That's going to seal every single crack and turn it into one solid, unstoppable fortress.
I mean, an incredible feat of engineering, right? But this is where the story shifts from just being history into a timeless lesson about creativity. So let's break this down.
And here it is, the key question. If this guy wasn't an expert in building things or in metallurgy, where did this amazing, detailed plan even come from? Did he just make it up on the spot? The answer is so much cooler than that. See, he didn't have to learn some new skill from scratch. He just had to look at this new problem through the lens of the skills he already had. The solution was hiding in plain sight, right there in his own life experience. And this just perfectly shows the connection. As a soldier, Dol Qarnen knew everything about armor. How do you make a strong helmet? How do you make a breastplate? Well, you forge iron and then you seal it with another metal for protection. He took that exact same idea, the one he used to protect one person, and he just scaled it way up to protect an entire nation. He literally used his knowledge of making a helmet to build a giant wall. This simple act, this idea of scaling up something you already know, it actually reveals this universal truth about creativity, a concept we can call the reapplication principle. So here's the absolute heart of it. We often think that innovation means inventing something totally new, just poof, out of thin air. But this story redefines it for us. Real innovation, a lot of the time, is just about using the knowledge you already have and applying it to a completely new and different problem. And that is such a powerful shift in how we think about this. You don't need a blank canvas to be creative. As a matter of fact, all this stuff you already know, that's your greatest creative weapon. The real skill is being able to look at your own personal toolkit, your experiences, your job, your hobbies, and see the basic principles behind them. And then, having that flash of insight to apply that principle to a problem that looks totally unrelated, that's the spark of genius. It's about connecting the dots that nobody else even sees. So, okay, what does this ancient story actually mean for you right now? It means you already have a hidden superpower for innovation, and it's built entirely from your own life. So how do we make this practical? Well, think of it like a three-step toolkit. First, just take an inventory. What do you actually know? What are your skills, your passions? Second, when a new challenge pops up, don't immediately look outside for an answer. Just look at the problem with your own fresh eyes. And third, ask yourself that killer question. How can I apply what I already know to this? Now that might sound a little crazy, but it gets the thinking started, doesn't it? It forces you to look past the surface of things to find the core ideas. Dol Qarnen used the principle of making armor to build a fortress. So what principles from your life could you scale up to solve the big challenges you're facing? It's a pretty powerful question to think about.